happy Monday to everybody. It is the 27th of August. I cannot believe that today is the first day that my son is going back to school already. In a way, it's a blessing. In a way, it's a curse. He's gone, of course, so that, that's always sad. But, it's a blessing, of course, that he's also gone. So it's, kind of 50-50. But what was interesting about it is that, over the weekend here in Oregon, it's been, the state has been on fire just continuously for about the past 2 months now. And over the last month, it's gotten so bad to the point where, the smoke and thing, it was bothering even me. And I really don't have that many allergies or anything. And it was getting pretty bad. Gratefully today, though, the skies are actually cloudy, and there was some rain a little bit over the night and some this morning. And, I know that we complain a lot out here that it rains every day, which, it generally does once the summer is over. But it's finally hopefully going to start clearing all that out. But the reason I bring that up is that over the weekend, we not only had our National General annual picnic, which was amazing. We went out to a wonderful place that's so family friendly. It was just outstanding. We played a little mini golf and had some great food. But what was really nice after that, the next day, is that because my son's going to school today, we, ironically enough, right next to where we work, I had come into work on Saturday to catch up on some things, or Friday. I think it was Friday that they were setting this up. And I was like, what the heck is going on over here? So I'm like, I stayed a little bit, and while IT was kind of, fiddling around with my computer, which of course takes forever, I went across and had a discussion with the people, and apparently they were having this thing over this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, where it's the world's largest bouncy house. So what it is, it's a really family-friendly place. You pay a fee, you can go and visit all these different things. So on Sunday, we were able to take our son there yesterday, the day before school, and we basically made a day of it with our son, his niece, his other nephew, and I'll tell you, me being a full-grown adult and my wife, we had an amazing time. It's just something that it's really hard to imagine what you are actually experiencing until you're inside of it. And don't worry about the gentleman in normal out here in Oregon. It's just, it was very interesting, to say the least. I really didn't know what to expect when I got there, but believe it or not, you get a time limit in the big house, and then there's on the sides that obstacle courses, kind of like what is that show? Wipeout. And you go and you kind of have fun and you play around, and it was just it was a really good time. So I'm very appreciative, and actually just thankful that was there at the time, and we were able to do that this weekend, plus have the company picnic. My son was able to start school today after having a nice, relaxing, but fun weekend. So, and of course I had some fun as well too, and that really helps out when it comes to today also, as far as Monday is concerned. I've never mornings, to be honest with you, until I started doing this. It's not that I'm tired in the morning, but Monday's the beginning of the week. But I'm going to tell you right now, though, that being able to get up on Monday and be able to motivate you all, and maybe hopefully in the process learn something, that motivates me, and it gets me energized, it gets me fired up, and it's actually been an amazing experience to do this. So I'm actually really thankful and happy that Dan was able to get me into the rotation here so that I can, of course, take some of the workload off him, but as well as, kind of jump into the pool and then start my personal webinar series going. If you don't already know, my name is Robert, the trainers here with NatGen, and I'm mainly at this point in time, since AEP is just around the corner, I'm focusing mainly on Medicare. So I'm the Medicare specialist trainer. And what our series is going to really be doing here each Monday is it's kind of at this point going to really tie in with my Wednesday series. And that's obviously because of the AEP push. So with that said, though, today's quote of the day is basically something that everybody's probably seen in one manner or another, is that if you're not taking care of your own customer, your competition will. And I really think that speaks to the heart of the entire Medicare sales process in general, in the fact that these are a group of people or a demographic that need, I won't use the word special care, but they do need to be taken care of in a way that's really different from the average consumer. You need to take your time with them, and you need to really focus on them. And you put in the energy from the start, that's going to be something that is going to stay with you stay with you at the same time throughout the entire thing. So it's really good to really kind of make sure that you're always keeping that in mind. And obviously, it's always a repetitive quote that you've probably seen everywhere, but it really is true today as it was yesterday, as it was last year. So that's why I decided to throw that wonderful thing in there today. So as you are well aware, today is Motivation Monday. We are going to, if you're new to the series, we're going to really quick kick off with a tip of the week. We're going to go into some of the trends and then jump into this week's last week, technically, sales leaders, and then run into our sales technique this week. So last week, what I really briefly did is I touched on for the tip of the week in regards to the new OEP that's going to be rolling out. So Medicare this year is reinstating. It is something that they used to do, but they are reinstating an OEP window from January 1st through March 31st. So again, and something to keep in mind, we don't really want to be outwardly advertising this because it could potentially run the risk of confusing and maybe misinformation being spread. Really, this is going to be there for your client or whatever may happen along the road, that if something pops up and they need to make a one-time change, they're going to have this 90-day window to do so. Sometimes people will make a choice of regular Medicare or original Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan even. And something happens, the plan does not cover it, they're paying thousands of dollars out of pocket. And they go, well, I really should have chosen this plan instead. I really should have chosen that Advantage plan. This is going to be the opportunity that you're going to have to change them. I know some agents may think it's scary. Oh, they got this 90-day window. If they don't like it, they're going to just jump ship. Personally, I don't worry about that because I do firmly believe that if you take the time and the energy and dedication to focus on your client at the time that you're with them and be present with them at that moment, this window is going to be your window to do with what you want if that problem arises and they need to make a change. So again, just keep it in the back of your mind. You don't really want to be outwardly advertising it, but inwardly, of course, keep that in the back of your brain. If you happen to hear the client say something, that's going to be their option for them. So today's tip of the week is really just a real quick view. Last week we had our Motivation Monday where I did the Medicare sales product trainings. Again, today we are going to be doing that. And next week, on next Monday, it's again going to tie right directly in. So really your tip this week is that if you miss something on Wednesday or you're not going to be available coming Wednesday, it is highly likely that if you attend the Motivation Monday, that the previous Monday of that same week, you're going to get basically the same material. Now it's going to be coming in a little bit of a different presentation format, of course, not the wonderful green AHCP PowerPoint slides we have here, but just my own ones that are probably just ugly and you won't like anyway. So, make your choice. I like both. They're both amazing presentations. But again, it's really just something to keep in mind that if you're not going to be here Wednesday, you can come Monday, or if you're not going to be here Monday, you can come Wednesday. I would highly recommend, though, is that if Wednesday you are available, please try and join us. And I believe that is at 10 o'clock Pacific time and 12 o'clock Central time. If that's wrong, I will let you know, but I believe that is correct for the folks in the Central time. So going forward then with today, what we're looking at here is going to be the trend. So what we're looking at from the previous one, I'm going to move my screen over a little bit so I can see what we're handling here. Here we go. So last week, short-term medical didn't really have any changes. Same thing this week. It's been about the same. Really good sales, but not really any upwards momentum. It's just cruising right along. And Nat Gen is still crushing it. The amount of sales that they had was amazing. So great job in that one. Fixed benefit, same story, but that's okay. As far as being no change, the sales are still there. We are doing amazingly well. And I think now that this is 4 weeks in a row, VBA was still leading. So great job with that. Going into the supplements, we had increases across the board. Our accident, our critical illness, and our dental all jumped up tremendously this week. So great job, everybody. The accident assurance was taking the top spot because it actually had been, I think, in second or third for the last couple of weeks, and it just shot right up this week when I was taking a look at the statistics. Critical illness, CBL, and dental golden rule is really on top of that one. So great work. So as far as our short-term medical shout-outs go for the week, there was a little bit of a shakeup. In first this week, we have Dustin Pearson and Cody and Elaine in second and third. So great job, you guys. It's really kind of been a game of jockeying back and forth, first, second, and third. I believe that Elaine has just kind of shot out from nowhere and you've gotten on the board. So great job with that. Everybody, again, I personally, I mean, I know that it's very motivating in everybody to see the top three, but I really like to commend everybody on their sales. Everybody is doing an amazing job, and just going through the statistics and the production that's actually coming out, I'd really love to give a shout out to everybody. Obviously, not possible, but great job to everybody, especially Dustin, Cody, and Elaine with your short-term medical sales. As far as the limited side, we have Katya, Robert, and Andrew this week. Excellent job, everybody. You guys have been the same way in that aspect as the short-term people have. You've kind of been jockeying back and forth. Katya, Robert have been kind of bouncing back and forth for the weeks. You guys are, I don't know if you have a head-to-head thing going on, and I cannot wait to meet you all when I come out to the central United States. But I really want to get to know everybody. But you guys are doing an amazing job. And again, especially on the limited side, everybody that's involved with this, the sales are outstanding and the numbers look great. So great job and great work to everybody, including you three, Katya, Robert, and Andrew. So a quick reminder, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, or on Motivation Mondays, 2 or 3 Motivation Mondays ago, I'd started a series that was discussing understanding and knowing your audience and how to effectively communicate with them. I really thought that that was a great way to lay the base foundation and the structure for speaking with individual demographics, especially the 65 and over crowd. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's not that they are special per se. Everybody has their own touch and their own need as far as how they process and receive information. So being able to effectively communicate that with them is a great way to kind of jumpstart this series. So what I've done is I've kind of put that on hold for a little bit, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bouncing into the Medicare portion of this as AEP starts to prep. So what's going to happen here over the next 3 to 4 weeks or so was last week I discussed preparing basic AEP portions of it as far as what you need to do about getting your carrier search done, really quickly, briefly touched on getting your AHIP and what you need to do. And then at the end of last Monday, I really briefly just touched on some marketing tips. So what I mentioned last week is that this week we were going to jump more into the marketing side and what you can do to get your information out there. And that's going to really be kind of our focus for the day today. As the weeks move forward, we're going to really talk about compliance. We're going to briefly touch on that today because anytime you talk about marketing, you have to talk about compliance when it comes to Medicare. So I will try and make that as fun, but yet as quick as possible. I know that it's always just a wonderful learning topic for everybody. And then, hopefully as far as the fourth one is concerned, what I'm thinking is that either we're going to really kind of have a discussion about OEP, but really it's kind of open at this point. I'm always up for ideas, up for, suggestions. So please definitely let me know. And that can always change. Schedules, part 3 and part 4 could change as well too, but this is really the kind of brief outline that we're going to be looking at as the weeks move forward here. So last week, again, what we did is I really discussed getting ready and prepping for AEP itself. I talked about utilizing time as your most valuable resource. Preparing everything in advance and focusing on client retention are really the main base features that you need to grab onto and hold onto and make sure that those are all organized and set before launching into AEP. Now, as we get into this week's lesson, what you want to do though is after you really have that set is you really want to look at what your entire direction, your entire style is going to be. Every time you talk about a new topic, be it Medicare, be it selling health insurance on the normal market, time is always going to be your most valuable resource. Something that I learned, and I don't know if I could say that I learned this the hard way or the easy way, but I'm always thankful for it. My time in the military, just about 4 years, it really showed me where effective time management can make or break just about any situation and any scenario. So if your time management isn't there and you're always finding yourself scrambling or your marketing tools or your materials aren't available, really kind of take a look at that feature and that function of what you're doing. Because if you can control that, then the rest of it is going to come through really easy. We're going to be obviously talking about your marketing style. Everybody's different. They don't have comfortability levels in certain areas that other people do. So everybody is going to have a unique way that they present their materials to their clients, in the matter of how, where, and when, and then specifically that kind of style that they choose. Are they going to talk to them on the phone all the time? Or are they going to go face to face? It really is up to the individual choice and what you determine to be your marketing style at that point. So, getting into the fact that we're going to actually look at your marketing style, you're going to really want to figure out first how you want to do it, when you want to do it, and where. I mean, those are the three main things that you really want to think about when you get into marketing. I mean, there's multiple options. There's multiple different ways that you can go. Some of the ways here, about 5 things that we have in general, is that obviously you're going to, if you have the availability to, you can utilize a landing website page or just your own website if you happen to have that. You always want to familiarize yourself with the carrier sites and the quoting tools so that when you are going through them, if you know them, you can understand them to someone else if they need to go ahead and do it as well too. Make sure you short, brief, to the point email signature. I didn't want to go too much into it today. I kind of discussed it last Monday, but just kind of really avoid those long signatures. Not very many people are going to read them, so something that is to the point is really more preferable. Of course, you do want to reach out to all those clients, and then make sure that you locate your current centers of influence, things like doctors, churches, lawyers, accountants, things of that nature. And in this last point, that's kind of really what we're going to be working with today, is those main areas of what you can do for marketing activities. Some additional things that you can do is you can do formal events, informal events. You can actually, of course, meet with them, encourage them to remain enrolled. And then, of course, you can continue to pass out plan information and business cards as the time goes on. And again, these are just examples that we're going through. I mean, there are many, many different ways that you can do this, and within the specific realms of what are the requirements under CMS, of course. What that means, though, is obviously, besides making outbound calls and calling your current enrollees, you do want to make sure that you stay within the guidelines, and we will discuss those guidelines. And the reason why these specific examples, there's a lot of verbiage here, and the main reason why I'm not focusing on them necessarily is a lot of them are very basic, but as we look at the examples and more of the specifics in getting into marketing, we're going to really kind of focus and dive down on those in a later week. So really just kind of really quickly just take this in, make sure that you kind of absorb a little bit of it if you want to. And then we're going to really jump into these examples about what you can and can't do and why you can and can't do them in a specific dedicated series session. So what you really want to do here is you really want to figure out 2 main things out of all these lists of examples of marketing activities and options that you have. One of those things is one of the ways that I would prefer to market, and one of the ways that is the biggest ways I feel in this day and age is to utilize direct mail, newspapers, magazines, television, radio, and such. The other way, social media. These right here, these 2 highlighted areas, I really feel are going to reach out to the broadest audience. And from my experience, my prior positions were in the internet and the social media realm, doing training and marketing and things of that nature for this area. I have a lot of personal background knowledge in this, so I do know that it works. So really, again, what really separates a good marketing plan from an awesome one is one thing, and that's really understanding who you're speaking with and that you yourself truly understand their needs. If you know your audience and you know the areas that you need to go, the demographic of your area, and really what is required to get to that, that is going to already immediately put you ahead of the crowd. So what are some ways that you can get to know them? Obviously, you can participate in local community events, and I really like to use the word dominate, but to really dominate in your area, you do have to be present and active. I mean, you do have a lead source, the lead do come in and you can make calls, but I know personally I do like to get out there and talk to a lot of people, and spoken word with the way that the internet is nowadays, kind of going by the wayside a little bit. But you have to remember the demographic that you're working with right now, they might not even utilize the internet or social media per se, and you do want to make sure that you're participating in these events and really physically talking to people. You know, it's probably about, I don't know, maybe 60-40 right now, or maybe even 75-25. 75% might not even be online all the time, or 60 or 75% might not be online or regularly check email, let's say. those other 30, 40%, I mean, if we're talking about the entire demographic of the Medicare realm that actually needs either to renew or to jump into the market new, that's a lot of people within that percentage. So you really do want to make sure that you make a concerted effort to participate in that if that's a route that you would prefer to go. You can reach out to Chamber of Commerce, senior centers, clubs to see what they have going on each month. And remember, you don't have to have necessarily an agenda to go there. Just go and talk to people. Bring some business cards. If someone's interested, you happen to have a card on you, that's amazing. The second thing that you can do here is something that I've actually seen work very, very well and for a very, very low cost, especially when it comes to things like public radio and just spots on certain channels. You can really do a connection through radio. And that is something that I would highly recommend somebody looking into if that's a route that you'd like to go. Reach out to your local radio stations or like NPR or like we're out here out in Oregon, we have our Oregon Public Broadcasting. They are willing to work with people very well. So if you reach out and you can get your voice out there, there are a lot of seniors that listen to the radio, a lot of seniors. So again, if you saw my presentation last Wednesday, or at least half of it, because there were some technical issues again, and I sincerely apologize for that, we discussed the market with the seniors. By 2030, 1 in 4 is going to be over 65. That is a lot of available clientele. So again, those leads are going to be coming in just some different ways. And the statistic that I found from my research is that about 58 million baby boomers listen to the radio each week. That is an amazing number. Those are 58 million people who are actively listening to the radio and available and eligible for Medicare. Now, some are already signed up, that's fine, and they already might be a clientele of yours, but this is a really good way to reach out and touch an audience, and one of, if not the top ways to get through to this clientele. That means a lot of money. So, as far as radio is concerned, it's a huge market. You can actually host sessions on there. And like I said, with OPB out here, you can actually set up a time and do a real quick Q&A and kind of make it more like a PSA, a public service announcement, and that you're specifically talking about things that you can do to help them understand their Medicare. And if they have questions, or maybe make a listing of the top 2 or 3 questions, you can answer that. And then while you're there, if you need to, you can maybe take a call or 2 and you can actually nail down individual meetings. I know that this might not be a medium that a lot of people would choose to utilize, but the reason that I wanted to show this to you is that if you're having a problem getting through to leads or making leads or letting leads call you back or finding the leads that are actually going to be able to work with this is an amazing direction that you can go to get yourself out there and heard by everybody. So the other aspect of the marketing is getting yourself online. And that does mean multiple different things. One of the best ways to do this online is you can actually look at getting yourself listed in a local directory. Lots of times those directories are free, or if you are listed, you could be listed for a whole year for a very, very small price, and that's anywhere from like $2 to $10 sometimes, just to get yourself listed in the directory. 9 times out of 10, though, it's going to be generally free, but it is going to be an area of something that you want to look at, because even though a lot of the seniors may or may not get online, if you are there and they're going to be doing general keyword searches, you're going to pop right on up. If anybody does have any questions on this, though, I did want to at least put the offer out there to contact me. I have a humongous list of directories that you can get listed in. The majority of them are free. But the good thing about it is that the more that you get yourself listed in these directories, the more that those links connect to each other online, and then that web spreads out and your name and your brand is then there. So basically the message of that by doing the directories is in and of itself to embrace that technological side. So you've got your one half of your clientele that are going to be face-to-face. They really like to communicate via phone and or email or even personally within events. And the other side is going to be that technological side where you're going to really want to look at the fact that they're going to be searching for somebody or they're going to be on social media. It's really an amazing way to engage with the current clients, and the potential for bringing in more leads is just outstanding. And in my opinion, pretty sure that everyone else should agree, I would think. It's fun. You're online, you're in social media, you're already there anyway. So it's really not even work, in my opinion. Or at least it shouldn't feel like work. So really kind of embrace the social media idea. Remember, with the social media, with the face-to-face events, and with even the phone calls or setting up specific things, there are things that you have to remember that you can and cannot say. We're not really going to dive too deeply into it today, but the one thing that I wanted to ensure that you know is that as the weeks come on, we are going to specifically look at this, but it is very, very critical that you make sure that you are following what the CMS guidelines are put out there for. You want to make sure that you don't say certain phrases that, for example, the government wants them to join the plan because it helps, or that you are certified, or limits and things of that nature. Again, we'll dive into these specifics later, but because we're talking about marketing, I'd be remiss if we didn't touch on compliance just slightly. So again, as the later weeks come on and we're having these discussions on Mondays, that's going to be an amazing time. It's always the funnest seminar, right? But we will dive into it, and I'll try and make it as fun and less dry as possible when we're talking about the compliance side of things. But it is a very critical thing to remember as far as your entire sales process is concerned. So one of the things that I wanted to close with today, besides the fact if you do have questions, of course, you can reach out to our training team at training@ahcpsales.com, is that don't look at marketing and preparing for AEP as a large, huge challenge or something that's really stressful. Make it fun. Finding the ways and the directories fun. You're already online. Talking with people, in my opinion, is the best way to get other leads and to really make that connection and to gain that rapport with your audience and that demographic. It is true that if you spend the time now and you dedicate the individual time and the space that you have at that moment to that client, you're going to continue to keep that client with you for the life cycle of their insurance needs, and then at the same time continue to build down the line because they're going to continuously give you referrals. So again, if you guys have any questions, reach out to the training at training@ahcpsales.com. Of course, you can give the wonderful agency services, which is upstairs from me, a call, and they would be happy to help you. So again, if you don't take the time, somebody else will. So I hope everybody found some of these topics as far as marketing useful, and if it was topics that you already knew or it was something that you didn't know, I'm happy either way. But again, let me know if you have anything that you'd like to hear on Mondays, or if there's anything that it's really kind of festering in the back of your mind about this upcoming AEP, reach out to us and let us know, and I'd be glad to touch on that. And then, of course, any questions as well. So I hope everybody has a great Monday. Good job, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.